Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. And in today's video, we have a pretty big reveal because there was a Strike Spot video released talking about the new upcoming patch 9.0 coming to Marvel Strike Force with Community Manager Pathfinder. That video was released this afternoon. We're here to talk about some of the stuff that's in there. There's some new stuff regarding the progression system. Some of you guys may have remembered from last week I did a data mine on something called Overpower. Now, that is confirmed to be the case. That's coming to Marvel Strike Force very soon. We're going to talk about what that entails and also the reveals of the Chaotic Storm raids. So the brand new raids. It's also going to be coming with the individual raid selectors as well. We're going to take a look about all that and what that means for the game. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. All right, so let's just start near the beginning. So at about 40 seconds, sorry, into the video, Pathfinder starts talking about the overpower. So let's have a little bit of a listen
There's
here.
a new system
So hopefully you guys can hear that.
We have a new raid coming your way with the individual raid difficulty selector. We're also going to be having global milestones appear for the first time in Marvel Strike Force, as well as the new command center. Now let's dive in.
Now, I'm not sure what that is. I think he said command center.
Marvel Strike Force has evolved over the last 7.
So basically, Overpower is designed as a new progression track. It's something new to chase. I want to kind of just jump ahead a little bit. It powers our characters up based on existing powers, and there's a UI picture here. So this is what I want to show you guys, is that up in the top right corner, you can see a little bit of a number. And the way that Overpower works is essentially it's a PvP thing. So honestly, I believe that this is to do with whales. It's to do with whales versus free to play, or spenders versus free to play, because the power that you're going to get from this is going to be dependent on the difference between you versus the enemy. And the wider the gap, the more power that you're going to get out of this. So if you're like, let's say gear 20, level 105, and you're fighting someone that's gear 19, you're going to get one more overpower stack over somebody else because you're going to have a higher gear tier. So it compares a few things. It compares gear tier, ISO 8 levels, and just raw levels as well. And depending on how wide that spread is, you'll get a different number or increased stats against your enemy. Starting with PvP, though, from what it was said by Pathfinder.
To each of your characters based on their progression.
So you can kind of see here that at the like it depends. Like the wider the gap between yours and theirs is how much damage and stats you're going to get. So you can kind of see how the user interface here works with Overpower. And it talks about the different ranks as well. I'm not sure if 10 might be the maximum, or I figure you said 9 is the maximum, because we're not going to be, they're only releasing this incrementally. So it's going to be a very low level version of this. It's going to be released first, and then, they're going to trial it, test to see what the feedback is, that kind of stuff that usually happens.
You'll gain overpower ranks for gear, ISO 8, and character level. The overpower bonuses are based on the difference between the attacker's overpower rank and their target. If they are one overpower rank apart, they get a small bonus. As the difference in overpower ranks increase, the bonus gets bigger and more powerful. In combat, each character's overpower rank is compared to the enemies they attack.
So you can kind of see that there's like an 8 on the enemy here, and I think they're at 9, right? So you can, I'm in the way. You remove me, you can see the 9 there on Odin. So that you're actually punching up, you're punching down, which means that you can see this green arrow, and that indicates that you're getting a bonus over them.
If one character has a higher overpower rank than the other, they receive a bonus that helps that attack. If their overpower rank is the same, then combat proceeds normally with no bonus for either character. You want to
jump ahead a little bit here.
And plan to add tiers 2 and 3 in the future.
Yeah, so you're going to get, I think, a difference of 1, I think is what they said, to start, and then it could go all the way up to 2 to 3 ranks different in the future. So that's, I believe,
we want to give players time to get used to the system before adding the larger bonuses. Overpower bonuses will make your character stronger, but in most cases, they won't overcome a bad matchup or substitute for skillful play.
Now, I think a lot of this has to do with what I heard is that there's some disgruntledness. Is that even a word? Between like heavy spenders and I guess more ardent free to play, right? The hardcore free to play who have pushed, who are skilled and know what they're doing, that kind of thing, and that there just isn't a lot of incentive in Marvel Strike Force to spend because it just doesn't give you a significant amount of enough bonus, right? Why spend like $500 on Marvel Strike Force? So I feel like that for those people who are getting, Gear Tier 20 ASAP, also possibly star ranks is associated. ISO 8 I know is as well. And when ISO 5, purple ISO 5, 4 and 5 comes out, like that's going to spread your overpower out as well. So again, more of an incentive to spend because it's going to put you that much further ahead in the PvP side of things. I do want to show off. We're going to skip ahead a little bit to the overpower user interface. I believe it's over
tiers
here.
2 and 3, and to provide appropriate levels of power when we release them. Let's check out some additional details on overpower.
It's here, yeah. So you can see, I think it's kind of ugly looking. You can kind of see it's like some sort of weird like circle, half circle there, kind of ish with an arrow. Actually, no, it's not an arrow. Is that an arrow? No, it's not an arrow. But anyways, you can see like what the current overpower is for your characters, right? That's based on how high you've built them, essentially. And then you're comparing that 9 versus somebody else, right? A 9 versus an 8, that kind of thing, or a 10 versus a 9, and therefore you get a spread of 1 and you get a particular set of bonuses. And I believe what they're saying is that you're only at maximum going to get a bonus of like a 1 overpower difference, right, in terms of additional stats, but that could go up to 3 plus in the future.
Or launches, you'll see overpower.
So if you're punching down, you're going to get a significant bonus against your enemies to make it even easier, is basically what I have kind of figured out. I mean, I guess you could do that to characters that are bad matchups, but as he said, it's typically just, I don't know, maybe it's in Cosmic Crucible, like it's meant to just get your efficiency score up even better if you're punching down, that kind of thing, like on the overpower scale. It's kind of a weird system, honestly. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not a more general progression system. Like, we're not doing anything new. This is just stuff that we already have on our characters, and depending on your character versus the other enemy character, there's going to be, some additional stats to yours based on that. But it's nothing new that we're chasing necessarily, so that's a little bit of a disappointment, in my opinion. I think that you can see, like in some cases, they have the arrows. They're showing off the arrows. There's the down arrow, which is if you're punching up. So this is a 9 Odin punching, or a 9 team punching up against a 10 team. So you can see the difference. So they're getting more stats over you. So it goes both ways as well, of course. So yeah, that's the first half of what they decided to reveal. We're gonna jump ahead a little bit to the Chaos Raids though, and that's over here. They talk about blah 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 blah. I wanted to get to the photos though, or 720, no, 745 actually. So we're getting 2 raids. Did I skip that? It's the Chaos Raids, Chaotic Storm Raids, and Chaotic Storm Omega. Now, this is pretty similar to what we already have with the regular version, which is like for the alliances that aren't full, that kind of thing. And then we have the Chaotic Storm Omega, which is going to be for full alliances. But we have the launch of the individual raid difficulty selector. I do want to kind of cover that here.
IRD. So let's take a minute to
calling it the IRD.
Explain how that works. The new individual difficulty raid selector, IRD for short, will allow you to completely customize your experience for each node of the Chaotic Storm raids. That's right, you can now change the difficulty of each and every node, including the bosses on Chaotic Storm. You won't be able to do this for all nodes on Chaotic Storm Omega, but we'll get to that here in a second. Let's look at how IRD works. As you can see here.
Yeah, so that's the interface option for the raid difficulty selector. So there's normal, hard, harder, and hardest, and it's going to just basically power them up there on the screen.
Gives me the
and it allows you to change each individual node. It's not just like the raid, it's like each node has its own difficulty selector.
To choose a difficulty for that node. Based on the difficulty you select, the enemy levels will change, as well as the rewards you can earn from the node. Whether you just want to play with your friends who are in a lower alliance than you, or you just want a tougher challenge, IRD will allow you to change your individual experience without having to change alliances. Let's talk about some of the nuances of IRD in more detail. If you choose a difficulty that's too challenging for you, you can retreat or quit the battle and reset the node and choose another difficulty. Please be aware that if you play through the node and lose, or choose the quit option, the damage dealt to your characters will remain regardless of if you reset the node. Anyone in your lane can change the difficulty level of a node if you can't complete it. No need to wait on the person who attempted the node originally. When you select a difficulty of one node, that difficulty will remain on each node you go to attempt. You will not have to choose a difficulty for every node.
See, my concern is actually the raid season points and how that, I guess, like, I wasn't looking actually. Because he doesn't show it, it just shows the character power. I would imagine that as you're flipping through the different difficulties, that the raid season points will scale as well. right? And this is going to be the biggest indicator, especially on a new raid. It looks like it's backdating as well to the Orcus raid, so you're going to be able to use it on some of the previous raids. Oh, they did. I skipped over this. They are actually sunsetting the old Ultimus raids and possibly the Doom raids as well. They didn't make that super clear. So the Ultimus raids are going to be going away from the screen, that kind of stuff. We're not going to be doing that anymore. And I guess that they're going to make some of the other raids more accessible with the difficulty slider, I suppose. Maybe we might just jump in straight into the Orcus raid. I think the idea is that they want to move away from the using any of your characters. That was the Ultimus kind of thing, is that you could use your raid teams anywhere. And I think that we want to officially move, of course, to the 5 origin raid team kind of structure and make sure that that's known for newer players, I think, as well.
However, you can choose the difficulty on each node if you so choose. As always, feel free to join our official Discord server, discord.gg/MarvelStrikeForce, if you have any questions about IRD, as it is a brand new feature that will change the way you can play raids in Marvel Strike Force. Now let's talk about Chaotic Storm Omega, which will work slightly different to the normal Chaotic Storm. Like previous raids, your Alliance leadership will select a difficulty to start on, with all difficulties being available at the launch of the new raid. The rewards will also use the more traditional model of raids, which you'll earn more rewards based on the completion percentage of your Alliance. Each normal node will be locked at the difficulty chosen and can't be adjusted individually. However, each boss node will have the individual raid difficulty selector option if you want to experience a more difficult challenge and are not already at the highest difficulty.
So I wonder if this is like a stacking difficulty. Like you have the general difficulties, and then you have more difficulties on top of that, like 1 through 5, and then you could pump it up even more. So it's almost like different tiers of difficulties within difficulties, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's what we're getting here, or if I'm not understood that correctly.
Both raid maps is that bosses are now completely optional. There's a boss node for every member of your Alliance, and boss nodes will not affect the completion percentage that your Alliance can obtain.
Optional raid bosses.
They are meant to be extra nodes with juicy rewards and bragging rights for you.
Juicy rewards and bragging rights. Well, what are the rewards, Pathfinder?
Before we move on, you might want to know what the requirements are for these new raid difficulties. As you can see on the screen.
Okay, so Purple ISO 3 for Chaotic Storm Omega difficulty 5. So that's really important to know, because these are going to be for your origin-based raid teams, right? Your Orcus, your Night Stalkers, probably. I mean, are they banning Mythics? Because otherwise, people are still just going to use Mephisto, Odin, and 3 Night Stalkers, I think. But anyways, Purple ISO 3 on those, and then I'm skeptical about doing more than that, honestly, because those are the only ones that are set in stone at this point, right? We're kind of due up for a lot of raid teams, but at least get them to Purple ISO 1 so you can do difficulty 4. And then if you're sitting on a crap ton of ISO, then I guess you can take them up to Purple 3 as well.
Normal difficulty will have no restrictions. Difficulty 1 will only include trait restrictions. Difficulty 2 will require green ISO 5. Difficulty 3 will require blue ISO 3. Difficulty 4 will require purple ISO 1. And finally, difficulty 5 will require purple ISO 3. The Chaotic Storm raids will kick off on March
27th. So that's in 10 days. It's going to be next Thursday. So that's very soon, which means that we're not going to have replacements to any of the new raid teams at this point in time. So we're essentially going to have 3 crap raid lanes, right? With Bio, Mutant, and Skill. And it'll be really interesting to see how they perform in these new raids, at least at the various difficulties, and when they start breaking. When they start cracking, whether it's on sim or on manual, and where the issues end up coming. I guess we'll have that time for the next few days after that to really figure that out.
Start preparing your roster now. We're calling on all commanders to help us with this next feature, Global Milestones.
Yeah, I forgot. There's a new Global Milestones
In these events,
feature.
all eligible commanders will be working together on a common goal to earn exciting rewards. We wanted to let you know that we'll be running a couple of test milestones before we officially kick off this new feature. So if you see something new, don't be alarmed. Some of these tests will be shorter than others, and you'll see they won't grant any meaningful rewards. This is intentional. We don't want anyone to feel like they missed out if they failed to log in during these tests. Expect a few tests in the upcoming weeks, but let's take a look at how global milestones work. You will see new events with the global tag in the milestone section.
Global tag. Okay, what is this? Okay, is this like a server-wide thing?
Global milestone will kick off later this month and will be all about collecting Imkron fragments to help in the Lalandra milestone. We will have more details to come soon, but prepare to work together to achieve these milestones. Push as hard as you can when these milestones appear, because you never know what could happen.
I mean, realistically, like if they design it in the fact that we can't clear it, it should be basically noted as free. It's free rewards. I mean, let's be honest. if the whole server, if the entire world is working towards the same thing, I would imagine that is clearable, right? Otherwise, people are going to get pissed off about that. But I think it's just going to be a progressive unlock as we pass the various milestones.
Final new feature to come soon is called the Command Center. Recently, we felt our milestone and event systems were in need of a visual overhaul, so we're bringing you the Command Center. This will eventually be a hub for events happening in Marvel Strike Force. Let's take a look. We will be slowly rolling this out over the course of the next few months, but we want
Okay, so a new events hub.
you to know that our intentions are to streamline the experience for you regarding the events to make them easier to understand and view. This will
Now, are these Easter eggs for anything? Big spender, interdimensional conquest, and below it says merciless foes. Actually, which you can't see is behind my my
also
screen.
play a big role in our upcoming age to allow for easy access to what is happening in the game. Additionally, the Command Center will introduce more objective-based milestones, giving you clearer objectives and meaningful rewards as you engage with the events. That's it for now, Commanders.
Okay, it's
Our
pretty
team
vague.
is incredibly excited for all the upcoming features in patch 9.0, and we hope you enjoy them too. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Strike Spot.
All right, so there is some kind of vague stuff here, but let's kind of recap. We actually there's two major things, I guess: overpower and chaotic raids. Again, make sure that you got your raid teams up at purple ISO 3, especially if you have it available. Make sure you do that. Spire Society, for those of us older players, probably already have that actually, because we did it for Dark Dimension 8, so that probably shouldn't be a big problem. Might even have that on Extreme X-Men 2 actually for older Odin players there, because that's kind of what was in at the time. So there might not be a lot of work for a lot of us to get to Purple ISO 3, but make sure that you get that done. And this new overpower system seems to be very PvP based and honestly kind of spender based as well, because that bigger gap between the characters is going to like increase the stats that you're going to have against the enemy. So we'll see how that ends up rolling out. The rest of the stuff, I'll have to see it in game to see whether or not it's tangible or anything meaningful to really like go home about. But anyways, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, guys. That's it for now. I guess the most exciting thing is the chaotic raids coming next week. So we'll see how that goes and the rewards that are associated with that. Is there going to be any G20 stuff in there? Because they did say that these green raids, like Orcus, right, is primarily focused on gear progression. So are there going to be gear 20 raid orbs next week? Only time will tell when they become available. So that's it for now, guys, and I'll see you on the next video. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.